Is everybody ready? I'd like to call to order the Urbana School Board meeting at exactly 6:31 p.m. Roll call, Ruth Ann.
Member Carter.
Here.
Member Hall.
Here.
Member Patton.
Here.
Member Pulaski.
Here.
Member Fisher is here. Vice President Rollins.
Here. I need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Tonight, do we have any citizen statements? Seeing there are none, we'll move.
Scott's coming.
Oh.
No, he went like this.
Okay. So the purpose of this is the superintendent's search, discussion, and update. The Board of Education will discuss with Diane Robertson and Kevin O'Meara with School Exec Connect possible attributes necessary for a new superintendent to possess in order to be successful as the next Urbana School District Superintendent. Okay, so
I guess we turned it over to Diane.
turn it over.
Nope. Yep.
We can turn it over to you.
Into closed session. No. This is open. This part's open. Good evening. I have a meeting with them. Thank you. You too.
Have been in the district for the last 2 days.
No.
Do you want to? There you go.
There we go. Okay. Have been in the district for the last 2 days, talking to multitudes of people, and really have been enjoying the discussions that we've been having with the people that we've been talking to, and we're going to culminate tonight with the board's focus group. Part of the focus group that we will do will be an open session. These are things that can be discussed and should be discussed in open session that will be not unlike what we've been asking all the other groups that we've been meeting with. And then there is a portion that we legitimately need to go into closed session with that we can that we would need to talk to the board about. So we have also requested an executive session for the last part of this meeting. Okay? So what we have been asking people are a couple of questions, and we had this in your packet at the beginning in the planning meeting. Maybe you have looked at that, maybe you haven't, but I'll refresh your memory. The purpose of these is to get a good flavor for what's going on in the community, what's going on in the district in particular, and what kinds of things people in the community as well as the board are looking for in their next new superintendent. And the purpose for that is to make sure that we clearly understand what it's going to take for a person to be successful as your new superintendent. So we would take all the information that we've been gleaning from these focus groups and these open forums that we've been having, along with the district survey that's out there, the online survey, and form a written profile that will just have statements saying the next new superintendent should be a person who, and then we'll just list these different components that we feel would be a good match for the school system, okay? And it's based on the culmination of all the data that we get. I just would like to update you on the survey at this point in time. We're closing in on the 500 mark. Good. So we've gotten great response. We anticipate getting more, because the survey does not close until midnight tomorrow night. Okay. So we have been encouraging people as we've been talking to them to, make sure that they fill that out and encourage their friends, family, acquaintances, coworkers, everybody else to have a voice in it. So we're really pleased with the response rate that we've gotten.
It's been outstanding.
It's been very, very good. Yeah. Okay, so the four main things that we are going to talk about and discuss, and we just want to have your honest and open feedback. We've been telling all the focus groups, we just need you to be honest with us, because if you're not honest with us in what's happening, we won't get the right person for you. We also realize there's fact and fiction out there, so we need to figure out what's fact and what's truth and what's fiction, so that we're not barking down the wrong or up the wrong tree. Okay, so I'm going to kind of lead the discussion. Kevin's going to take notes, and these are the same things we've been asking. These guys have already heard them, so they're familiar with what we're talking about. So First thing we want to focus on are the strengths of the school district, the strengths of the Urbana community. I want you to give a little thought to that. So I'm going to be asking you, pretend like we are real estate agents. We have to sell this job, this community, the school district, to potential candidates. So what, if we were real estate agents, what kinds of things would we put that would attract, into the brochure? What would we put into the brochure that would attract people to want to come to Urbana? So it's the good parts, okay? We have to sell the job. The second thing we're going to talk about are those concerns and challenges, the issues. Everybody has them. You guys have your share. And we just have to be real open and honest about what those issues are so that candidates will know what they're going to be potentially signing up for. Okay? The third thing that we will talk about are the priorities that you see for the new superintendent. There are some things that are just going to hit the person right out of the gate, or things that just can't wait for that evaluation, observe, talk, figure it out first. Things are just going to have to be dealt with right off the bat. So we want to know what you think some of those things are going to be, the hot button issues. And then lastly, we're going to ask you about the skills and characteristics you would desire in your new superintendent. And those can be like kind of one-word, two-word answers, just somebody who has this trait, something like that, okay? We have told all the groups that if there's something that they forgot to say or think of when they get home, to please email us, because we would like to consider all opinions. So we would offer that same thing to the board. Don't withhold anything here in this meeting. But if you get home and say, oh, this was a point I wanted to say, my email address is on the website. You've got it. Kevin's is out there. So please make sure that your voice is heard too, okay? We plan to synthesize all this data. I know that's a big word, but it's basically put it all together and figure out what it means. And we are looking for the things that we kept hearing over and over and over again, multiple things. We're going to throw out the left field stuff, we're going to throw out the right field stuff, and we're going to focus on what the commonalities are across all the groups that we've been talking to, and including the survey data. We will develop that profile, and Kevin won't be able to join us next week, but Tim Shimp will be back with me, and we will be here Tuesday night to share that out to the board, as well as the results of the discussions that we had with the focus groups and the results of the survey. Okay? Sound like a plan?
Perfect.
All right. So let's start off with what's good about Urbana School District? What's good about Urbana, the community? What are some of the strengths of the district and or the community?
I put neighborhood schools, great creative arts classes, and dual language classes.
Okay.
Access to a world-class public university.
U of I?
I had those, related to those two things that Paul and Brenda said, but another one I added is our district's recognition that the whole child matters and that the full span of a student's years of schooling matter. And by that I mean that we invest as heavily in our fine arts as we do our core academic subjects, and are just as proud of our early childhood program as we are our after-school programs and our adult ed programs. So I think of that as the whole child and the full range of schooling.
Okay.
We value all of it.
Okay. Good.
I think that it is a complete district from basically birth to grave. Is unusual to have the partnership with the adult ed program with the early childhood. So, do we need to repeat what has been said in order for you to increase the numbers, or all your? Okay,
yeah,
good.
that's okay.
Thank you.
No.
And I think the diversity, since, I grew up here, it was not, and I left at 17, it was not a very diverse community. Moving back, I looked at it, and it's diverse because of the university, but also your neighbors that are surrounded.
Right.
It's interesting that you started off with the realtor aspect of it, because I was saying curb appeal.
Microphone, Ruth Ann.
Yeah. It was interesting that you started off with the the realtors aspect of it, and I actually have the curb appeal for our facilities.
Okay. Good.
And also ranking in with our extracurriculars, with our sports facility, is definitely a draw that we want out there for our students to come.
Right,
You know, because they're not coming without their parents,
right.
and they're the ones that are looking at things like that.
I think to add to that, it's not just the curb appeal of our facilities. We have 2 elementary schools yet to go, but our facilities are extremely well-maintained compared to many facilities in the state of Illinois.
Okay.
This community has made an investment in making sure that our facilities are current.
Good.
I think everything that they said already was in my mind, but also to build on it, like John said, with the cradle all the way to the end of your life, it's the wraparound services that we have with our school district. I mean, we have partnerships with our park district. We have partnerships with our health department. We have partnerships that help kids who are college-bound, but we also have work readiness programs in place so that any aspect of a kid's life gets touched upon in some way, because we've tried to collaborate with other people in the community. That's really important to me, but also that we have shown in the past that we like to try new things, that we're not afraid to be innovative. So I hope that that's attractive to somebody, because like with our dual language program, that's not been done by that many places.
Right.
But it's working for us, and we were brave enough to try it. And so I would love to see somebody who's got lots of bold ideas.
Okay.
I think building upon the diversity, until 2 years ago, we were bragging about closing the graduation gap between our white and black students, and I thought we were making significant positive strides towards having our AP classes being diverse. We don't. It isn't just diversity in terms of the number of children that show up, but it's diversity in our music programs, it's diversity in our drama programs, diversity in our fine arts, all the fine arts, and in our AP, we've really made a significant effort, and whoever is here next has to continue to make that significant effort to keep that.
Okay, great.
I guess one other thing that this was touched on, but I want to really hold up our intentional approach to addressing racial equity district-wide. I mean, it really began in earnest 3 years ago, and tackling really serious issues of implicit bias, white privilege, systemic racism, and their impacts on how we think about curriculum and discipline and parent engagement, student assessment, and the like. And it also incorporates as a facet of it use of restorative practices as a way to de-escalate conflict. But it's a really, I think, a very bold and ambitious plan, and it's been very intentional and district-wide, and I think working very well. I mean, we've got a long way to go because we have a lot of ground to cover.
Sure.
But I'm most proud of that and think that needs to be part of the next superintendent's
Another
leadership.
thing, we're one of the few school districts, I believe, with an on-site health center for our students.
You are.
Right. That's good.
We have a very highly educated and involved group of parents in this district who volunteer in our schools and
Okay.
are there backing us up, and that's a real asset.
Okay.
For a person considering being employed here, we've got an election in a week, or a couple of weeks, so maybe this will have to be undone. But we have a consistent school board. We do not have a school board that
Continually turns over.
rolls over a lot.
Right.
We have 2 members that have better than 20 years.
I'm coming up on 20 in April.
Wow.
So we do have turnover, because by the other token, we have 2 members, one being here for 2 years and another being here for 4. 8.
Yeah, you're not that very. Yeah.
8.
I've been here 12. We're in
Time
the-
flies.
10, yeah, 10.
It
So-
does fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's, I've
Some
seen in other districts where the majority of the board changes almost with every election.
Absolutely.
And that's scary for a superintendent when there's that
Yeah.
history in a district.
bet.
Because you never know, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the idea of the sub-district, so everybody has a voice. At
Representation.
one time, the sub-districts did work. Now, he needs to know, I think it would be still stable if we switch to the all-district later on. Because that's one thing I hear across the table when I'm in Springfield or in Chicago, the stability of our board. And the different venues each of us can present in different areas.
Okay.
Guess
Anything
the only
else?
last thing I'd like to add is I consider a real strength of our district is that we put great stock in parent, teacher, and student involvement in decision-making, very collaborative approach.
Okay.
I mean, until recently, and this will come up, this same
Right.
statement will come up under some of the other
Right.
questions you asked, but
Right.
that has traditionally been a strength of our district.
We nickname it the Urbana Way, but
We've heard about the Urbana Way. Yep.
it's very collaborative. It's very, very, very collaborative with a great deal of respect shown to whether you're 5 years old and a kindergarten student or whether you're somebody's grandparent of advanced age.
And you're looking right at me when you're saying that.
I might fall into that category.
There's several of us.
Several of us, yeah,
We don't need to
exactly.
go there.
Okay, let's switch gears for a minute. We've got some concerns and we've got some challenges going on in the district. So as much as you can speak in open session about those, what are some of the concerns and challenges that are going on in the district or in the community that new superintendent candidates should be aware of?
Currently, the relationship between, by and large, our teachers and their union is the worst it's been in a very, very long time.
Relationship between the teachers and the union?
No,
Teachers
the teachers, comma, their union, and
And
central office.
central office,
In
okay,
general.
okay.
I think, I've never heard as many complaints. I've been on the board 8 years. I'm sure others can have been here longer, can attest. These past 2 years have just been.
We've had rough times, even a one-day
Deteriorated.
strike in the last 30 years, but
Yeah,
the relationship needs significant amount of attention right
okay,
now.
okay,
Yeah, it's damaged.
right.
And going along with that is our staff turnover rate. I mean, we really want to stem that flow, and that's a serious concern for all of us. We've lost a lot of really good teachers. We don't want any more to go,
Right.
so that's foremost in my mind.
Along the relationship lines, I think that we need to have stronger bonds between students and staff at the schools, and how to facilitate that, I'm not really sure. That also carries over into the community also, and every aspect. I mean, there's been a lot of relationships that have really been broken recently and damaged. They need to be repaired, and it's not going to be a quick fix, unfortunately, I don't believe, but we need to start at the bottom and build those relationships back up, even with certain community members, things like that, because sometimes our students' behavior possibly could carry over into community businesses, community events, families, things like that, so.
Okay.
And I want to see a superintendent who can interact with all people and coming in with the compassion to understand times are changing, so the psychological, the home life, the behavior patterns that the children present, that he can go in, intercede, work with those, whatever he has done, where he's coming from, and then also with the teachers, do some team building. There needs to be more interaction. Everybody's here.
There's no
I want
unity.
somebody that, and I've been in a district because I've taught and did administration before social work, you want to bring everybody together. And whatever sometimes you have to go outside the box. I want that individual to be that type of person.
Okay.
And I think you develop that rapport and that trust even with the kids. That means if they're down on the floor, you can sit down on the floor with them and get to know and let them get to know you. That spreads all around and it goes out in the community. Then you need to be visible in the community and to know who the go-to people are. Not just one side, but everybody. So I think that's going to be important in rebuilding.
Okay. What other challenges or concerns do we have?
In terms of, especially to our neighbor to the west, if you look at anybody who looks at the state reporting card can see that we're not funded adequately compared to other districts. I mean, I think we're somewhere in the 70% of adequate funding, and I think Champion's north of 90, and that's related to property values and EAV and all that. But it's a serious challenge that an administrator's going to have to face coming in.
Right.
When their challenge is to maintain a full year's expenses worth of operating reserves. And that's
It's a dream for you?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think our district reputation took one heck of a hit in the last year, and so steps taken to improve communications amongst all groups, but in a general sense to try to help build our reputation back up is important. Channel 3, for instance, tonight on the news talked about the number of fights, and one would have thought before they covered it that Urbana would have looked horrible. And when you compare us in our worst state, which was 6 fights this year so far, and Centennial was at 12 or 14 or something like that. One year we had 4, they had 17. Central was in the middle. But yet if you went out and talked to the common person on the street, they would think that there's got to be more fights in Urbana than anywhere else because that's all they've heard about for the last several months. And so that reputation needs to be fixed. But one of the ways to fix that isn't about communication, but despite all of our own good feelings about this district, our state scores don't look that good. And so that's...
Are you talking about your academic achievement scores?
Yeah,
Okay.
the state report card.
Right.
And so that, we're going to have to pay attention to that and see if we're doing something that is not allowing our students to show their best face in that report card information. Because while we do not believe that a single test is the measurement of what's going on, that single test is oftentimes what people see and then begin to think that we're not we're not academically as strong as what we are.
Right. Okay. Other concerns, challenges, issues? Yes.
I just wanted to, I had my notes down here that feeds into what we look as a community with the businesses that are here, and where our funding, like you were talking about, is coming from with our taxes and everything, and that we are under tax caps,
Right.
which...
That's important for candidates
very
to know,
much-
is that you are
yes,
tax capped.
Most definitely. I was one that was out there fighting against them the best I possibly could.
Zap the caps.
Zap the caps. I'm sure I can find one of those posters that I kept in my car window all the time.
How long have you been under the tax caps?
Before
know?
we went to sub-districts. And sub-districts were
Many years ago?
1999.
97, I believe.
Yeah.
Was it
A
97?
couple of years
Okay.
before
Yeah.
we did
Okay.
I was going to
sub-districts.
say at least 20 years, so
Yeah,
Okay.
22.
I'm guessing
Okay.
97.
Okay.
It's a big impact
Yes, it is.
on, what the state, even what you're talking about with the state and everything, but here locally, we're zapped.
Strapped. You're strapped.
Yeah, we're zapped
Yeah.
and strapped.
All right.
And we'd like to see that lifted, but we're not the ones that can go out and campaign to put that back on the ballot.
You're the only people that can't do that.
Yes.
We do have real and measurable disparities with regards to the application of consequences in discipline and in terms of academics and other measurables. when broken down by race.
Okay.
They're there, and
Okay.
we need to deal with that.
Okay. Other concerns, challenges?
Safety, security in our buildings is very, very high right now. And it's been at the forefront ever since Littleton, Colorado.
But it would
That
be
was a big explosion.
But it would be a
for us.
very split community if we were to talk about hardening of the schools. This community would be very, very, very split on that.
What do you mean when you say hardening?
The metal detectors.
Oh,
and all
okay.
that,
Okay.
More cameras.
They're
Okay.
even quite split on just the idea of a full-time SRO.
Okay. All right, let's move to priorities.
It's mine.
So tell us what a few of those, everything can't be a priority, so this list should be short, okay? But what are the most pressing issues that are going to have to be dealt with right out of the gate?
Our union contract expires on June 30th.
That would be a priority.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yep. Welcome
you-
to the
have-
job. You have
have-
no contract with your union.
Have you started, has either side started that process yet? Or is it, that's a silent process right now?
Both sides are considering how to approach this, considering the transition that we're in.
Okay. Okay.
That's the way I can state it.
I just didn't know if it had been started yet,
No.
if you were actually starting yet, or,
There have been some very preliminary questions that
Okay.
have gone back and forth as to what type of process to go through, not substantive about the
right.
nature of the
right,
contract.
Right, okay. We, because it's a reality that your contract ends in June, we have advertised, and so candidates will realize that your contract is up in June. So that's a reality. Excuse me. If that would happen to change along the way, that, you know, that's not going to be the reality, then we would certainly share that with the candidates. Other
There might be
priorities?
news about that in the next 30 days.
Okay. That would be perfect.
I think another priority is just to keep our district updated as far as technology. I know MC Neil, one of our employees, has been working very, very hard to try to get that. It seems like every time we sit around this table, we're constantly talking about where we can get more money for technology to upgrade everything because it changes so quickly. So I think that's a huge priority.
Okay.
I mean, playing into that, we've underspent in technology for a number of years, so that's a deficit that needs to be made up. Along with that, the way that our grants were used to pay for additional staffing ads during this past budget has left us with a sizable hole in terms of funding in our budget going forward. So we're going to have to do some really tough prioritization in the next calendar year to figure out how to either pay for things or just do some things or not do things we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to write down
Okay.
resource allocation choices.
That's a
Yeah, that's a great way to say it, I think.
And I say professional development, to me,
Okay.
was shut down at the door this year,
Okay.
and might have been two prior years, but it starts at the top. And so whoever the person is, let them know that's the key, because that's the leadership that's going to be the ones to train and work with our children.
We have several new administrators.
Several.
So at this level, at central office level, I think there's going to have to be a lot of
good coaches.
coaching.
Right.
I was
That's a
looking for the
good
word,
one.
coaching
Okay.
of our new administrators.
Okay. That's good to know.
And I would add priority of establishing trust and bridging divisions that have occurred because of all that's been mentioned. And I would underscore providing guidance and support for our new principals, administrators, and assistant administrators. And I don't mean brand new, because we have several who are brand new. We also have several who are just 2 or 3 years
Right.
old and haven't been adequately supported, in my view.
2 or 3 years in, not old.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years.
Okay. You got some mighty young ones there.
Right,
That would
right.
be.
Well, team building, I mean,
Yes.
considering that we're, the top three positions are.
Right.
Well,
Right.
arguably the top three.
Right.
Some people could argue that there might be some other positions that might figure into
Uh-huh.
that top three, but
Mhm.
we've got those three replacements.
Mhm.
Brand-new administrators at
Mhm.
secondary level,
Mhm.
at the first leadership spot as well as the second, and sometimes even the third.
Mhm.
And we have one principal retiring
Mhm.
this year that's going to, that is our most senior,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
terms of tenure. Our most senior administrator is leaving, so there's going to be a grade school.
And one next year.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it's an opportunity to build a team.
Mhm. Absolutely is.
Sure.
And last but not least, we do have a strategic plan that needs to be updated, because we're at the tail end of ours, and that's, feels like it's, a whole pile of stuff, but that's going to be really important for a new superintendent to start visualizing.
Absolutely.
I was just going to add about curriculum and instruction, because I believe, was it this year when we implemented the new math system, or was that last year? I'm trying to remember when, but
In the middle school, was it last year?
there's been a lot of changes, and I think it's important that we make that a priority to stay up to date, so our students will not be getting behind, and they will be college ready.
Mhm.
So I think that's a very important aspect, too.
Okay.
Notice what's not an immediate is facilities. I mean, we all recognize that it needs to be dealt with, but somebody doesn't have to come in and deal with, other than central office, which
Yes.
is decrepit. We don't need to,
Be
there's
focused
other
on the
things that are
building
more
project.
important to deal with than
That's-
facilities.
And we have a 10-year
Right.
plan for what our major facilities needs are, and they're
Right.
already ranked by the community.
Right, right,
So.
good. Okay. Well, you guys have mentioned a lot of priorities.
Yeah.
So there will have to be some further whittling of those
Yes.
priorities in order to make them priorities. And so you need to be thinking, in the short term here.
I think reestablishing relationships just takes that's.
Yes,
Yeah,
That's
you
like-
can't have a contract without that.
that's kind of an overarching
Yes.
concept.
And discipline.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to skills and characteristics. These are like 1, 2, 3 word answers.
We have a
Right.
couple already mentioned. I'm going to read those just so we don't repeat them.
Okay.
One of the skills that I heard mentioned was needs to be able to work well with the changing demographics of families in the area.
That's more than 1, 2, 3 words.
I'm breaking the rules,
Okay,
not them.
okay,
The second one is visible. That's one word.
okay,
Second one.
it is.
Third one is good public relations and marketing skills.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the ones I've written down so far.
Good
Okay.
listener,
Okay,
needs to do a lot of listening.
Leader.
okay.
Relationship builder.
It's a good term.
Collaborative.
Okay.
I'd also like to see institutional knowledge, someone who's got a good background, either as a building leader, as an administrator, a teacher, lots and lots of background knowledge.
Okay.
Visionary, especially with regards to achieving our racial equity goals, but visionary, but with that sort of as the subcategory.
Okay.
Transparent.
Can I talk about that just a little bit
Mhm.
before we move on? We have been trying to talk about in all of our focus groups about the word transparency, because I know that's a hot word here. We've been talking to people about what transparency really means, and that transparency is being open when you can and should be open, but it doesn't mean bear all.
Right.
And so we just wanted to talk to as many people as we could about what transparency really means. And and there are times when the board just simply cannot, by law, regulation, whatever, cannot give the information that the public is looking for. And so we just wanted to let you know that we've been having that conversation with the community that we've been talking to.
And this is more than 2 or 3 words. But I would really love to see a leader who is good at recognizing people with strengths, and even if opinions differ, knowing to put those people with strengths in the places where they need to be. Because disagreements are going to happen, but if you've got a good leader who says, you know, I want to surround myself with the best in the bunch, even if they don't agree with me or we don't see eye to eye, I still trust that they're going to do their best work in these positions. So, yeah.
Kevin will get that down to 3 words.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think I am, but I'm going to write something.
You get the gist, right?
Yes.
I said a very non-judgmental and an active listener.
Okay, those are good.
Personable.
Personable.
I had something, and it's like totally gone now.
Now, remember when I said at the beginning, if you
Yeah.
think of something
Yeah.
later, like you can't sleep,
It was
send it
really,
to me.
really good, too. I was sitting here planning it all out, and then I'm starting to listen to everybody else, and I just fogged out.
Diane does
Uh-huh.
not mind if you call her at midnight.
I'm usually up when nobody else is.
Wouldn't be unusual.
It'll come to me eventually.
I think approaching Ann's topic, and it goes to team building, people on your team have to have a variety of perspectives,
Mhm.
and they can't be all of the same perspective.
Right.
Or the best is, so it has to be somebody who is able to listen to a wide variety of perspectives and gather the value out of all those perspectives to come up with the best decision.
I'm going to suggest that not even able to do that, but foster that kind of
Yes.
atmosphere.
I mean,
Thank you.
Yes.
Fostering.
Thank you.
President Lincoln had a term for that with his cabinet, right? It was, I'm gonna try.
Team of rivals?
That's it.
Team of
Team
rivals.
of
Team of
rivals,
rivals, yeah, I
yeah,
mean-
that's
Or
great.
it's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
FDR was famous at that, too.
Good,
And Abe Lincoln. I mean, that's
good
what-
conflict is
Yeah.
good for growth.
Right,
Yeah, yeah, fosters a team of rivals.
right. Yes. Ruth Ann?
Positively accept and work on criticism.
Okay. Can accept constructive criticism?
Yes,
Okay.
that's where I needed to be.
It's a good one.
And can dole out needed criticism?
Not to board members.
Scratch that from the record.
Shut off the mics, quick.
Any other skills or characteristics you'd like to see that are important? Okay, you had some really, really good ones. Is there a certain skill or characteristic you absolutely do not want to see
Arrogance.
in your candidates? I'm sorry?
Arrogance.
Arrogance, okay.
Deceit.
Deceit,
Authoritarianism, top down.
okay.
Can absolutely work with everyone and anyone in this community and not just pick favorites and always go to people.
Okay.
Insular.
Okay.
Defensiveness. Yeah, these are kind of defensive.
Closed-minded.
Please understand this is being broadcast. We are not comparing
No,
old and new. We're
No.
just saying what we
correct,
can't handle.
correct.
Right.
What we don't prefer, what we don't want, yeah. Mhm.
Defensiveness.
Mhm. Okay.
In the process, have you had a chance to meet with the people that might be voting, but don't sit? We have one candidate for the board who would definitely be a voter.
We had 2 candidates who attended
Participated.
the open forum last night. And were you at one of the other focus groups too?
Yeah.
Just last night? Okay, okay.
I just want to make sure that,
Yes,
since she's running unopposed.
yes,
That
yes.
there's an opportunity for
We
input.
also shared with all of the people that we talked to and at the forums that, our email addresses are there, and feel free to reach out to us if you didn't feel comfortable saying something, for whatever reason, if you think of anything. we're trying to make ourselves available as best as we can. We're going to have to shut off the feedback like tomorrow night, because we've got to get that report written. But,
Well, one's a candidate, and one's been to enough board meetings, he might as well be on the board.
yeah, we've seen the Cub shirt too many times this week, no.
But I mostly wanted to make sure that Tori
Yes.
had it. Okay.
Yes.
good.
And then when, we give all kinds of preferential, we want to make everyone welcome, but we know that relationship is special. We want to foster that information.
Okay, that wraps up our open session portion, and we need to spend just a little bit of time in closed session with the board then.
All right, so I believe what we'll be doing is going into closed session for the purposes of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel. There will be no action following the closed session. A motion to go into closed session would be in order.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President
Yes.
Rollins Gay and President Demmett?
Yes.